Hello, everybody. Welcome to this master class on how to build a career in SOC. I'm very sure there are a lot of people who are interested. It's a field that there is currently a lot of demand in. We at Antwox constantly keep interacting with different industries, ask industry leaders as to what they require, and this is possibly the right opportunity for you to interact with one such industry leader. uh, Nabojyoti will be joining us shortly. Ram, can you ping if and see if Nabojyoti is joining us?
Yes, actually, he's messaging me right now.
Okay.
I think he's confused with the link.
So let me first begin. Before Nabojyoti comes, he joins, and I introduce him and we open the session. Session is a ask me anything session, which means that all the queries that you have related to a career in SOC, please feel free. Okay. So what I would request people is to put the questions in chat. Okay. uh, uh, Put your questions throughout this session. It's not that you need to wait till the end of the session to ask you questions. Please feel free to ask as many questions as you want in the session, and we will be taking them one by one. And don't feel disheartened if I don't ask your questions right in the beginning. Depending on the flow and the thought of the session, we will be taking up your questions, right?
Hey, Sudhanshu, can you make Nabo the host? He
Yeah,
has just joined.
I just saw that Nabo has joined. I will make him the
Yeah.
co-host. So first of all, those who have joined, it gives us the first indication that you want to make a career in cybersecurity, which in itself is a good decision. It's a wonderful decision because first of all, it is a domain where there are a lot of jobs to begin with. That's one good thing. And the second thing is that it is a highly rewarding career in the long run, because now, irrespective of the nature of the company or the domain that you are in, you have to be a digital company, you have to have a cyber presence, and the more digital you become, the challenges of being digital, of course, are there. We'll definitely talk about that. So what we will so first of all, it's time to welcome our guest, Nabojyoti Sarkar. He's an associate director at KPMG and has close to 12 years of experience in information security and cybersecurity domain. Earlier, he was with IBM, where he was you know, responsible for the instant response and response in CM tools of one of India's largest telecom customers. He has contributed to a book on a handbook on information security operations center. So to talk about SOC, there is no better person than Nabojyoti himself. So Nabojyoti, thank you so much for joining and welcome to this masterclass.
Hey, hi, Sudhanshu. Thanks a lot for that kind introduction. So, we have a lot of people. I can see a lot of
Yes.
known names as well.
Right.
So, that's cool. So, we'll just wait and see. I guess you want to start right away or you want to wait for a little while?
So
Let
we should typically start at 7:05. Usually people will keep coming in till 7:10 is what.
नहीं नहीं आप बताओ समा बांध दिया तो हम लोग चालू कर देंगे गाना बजाना.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल हमने बांध दिया समा. And we should definitely get it started, because what I see going by the crowd that we'll have a lot of questions. तो सारे questions को answer करने के लिए हमें भी ज़्यादा समय चाहिए. We need more time to answer to the questions. We want to take as many questions as possible, right? So
I think Praveen is trying to post some question and he mentioned that there is no public chat, sir. But
so Praveen, what he has done is that he has posted it to me.
Okay.
So whoever are not able to post it to any
Okay.
publicly, they can post it to me, and I will take those questions. Not a problem.
Correct. Okay, because I think if you guys are posting queries to me, then the issue is I might not be checking it during the session. So please post all your queries to Sudhanshu. He's the one who's our,
Antwox side.
master of the choir. He would be able to do that for all of us.
Yeah, so I will be the host. I will be monitoring the chat windows. So whatever questions you have,
Sudhanshu is a class monitor. वो जिसको
yeah,
भी
I
जो
am the
बच्चे
class.
को जो प्रॉब्लम है वो जाके उनको बताओ.
Definitely. So yeah, I'm the
सही है.
host, ghost monitor for the session for the next 1 hour. Whatever questions you have, please put here. All right, and we will definitely respond. We'll take each of the questions. All right. So Novo, will you be presenting your screen?
So, I mean, in fact, I was also kind of discussing this with Ram.
Mhm.
What would we want in terms of, the flow for this particular session? There are a couple of ways we can do it, because I think there's a second masterclass that we're doing. The first one, when we had done earlier, we had a deck. I think that deck is also with you. So that's one thing that we can do. Else, I have a different, stuff that we can kind of put it as a slide. It's not a slide. So there is a science publicly available paper which is available. So what we can do is even I can use that to kind of start and pivot our conversation. So it depends on you, or I think the larger forum, in terms of how we can structure the conversation. At the end of the day, it's I'll leave that up to you guys.
So the first thing that I would like to say is that we don't need a lot of PPTs, because it is any which way is going to be a ask me anything session. So the more questions people ask, we'll answer them. We of course will needs you to kind of tell a little bit about the different SOC roles, what are the different career trajectories and all these things, how are the opportunities looking in this segment. But beyond that, we don't need a lot of PPTs. We are good without the PPTs as well, right? So okay. So first question, there are questions that have started coming in, right? So we can definitely talk about that. But typically, this is what we had discussed the last time around. A little, what is SOC? What are the different job responsibilities? How does a typical day look like? What are the different tools that you use? And then we can talk about then we can talk about different things that are there. So how would you like to go about? You can straight away start about how SOC is, and we should be good to go.
SOC is excellent. It's amazing. that's the short answer. Okay, and the long answer is really long. So I don't think you'll be able to do that in an hour. Okay, so you don't want to go through the questions initially. Okay.
So we can. I want to go to the questions as soon as possible. So if we can, you can spend say 2 to 3 minutes giving your introduction around SOC. Then we'll very quickly move to the questions. Yeah.
Okay. So it's almost 7:10. So
yeah,
we are good to start. I think some people will keep coming in. That's okay.
Yeah.
So that's fair enough. Okay. Good evening. Yeah. Good evening, everybody. This is, this has been an absolute pleasure to kind of get a platform to interact with about 60 odd people. Kind of feels like a pre-pandemic office, which is great. I am still not this associate is earlier and then there is director. I wish.
Yeah, it should have been in the same line.
So this is exactly what happens when you work for SOC. Okay, you will figure out all the anomalies in the log file, because that's something that you're gonna keep doing for the rest of your life. Yeah. So that's how it is. Okay, so quick input. Quick things about me. I started my career 2008. I started with HSBC. Was a part of the security team for a year. Moved on to Cognizant, where Sudhanshu and me we were a part of the same team for some time. We were looking after one of the largest payment processor in the world. After that, I did my MBA. Again, me and Sudhanshu, we were part of the same B school. We did our MBA, and I started my full-fledged security career based out of, ICICI Bank. Held multiple roles there before kind of landing up to Security Operations Center as a full-fledged role. That was like 2016, I think mid of 2016. And since then, this is the same thing that I've been doing. After ICICI Bank, I managed the Security Operations Center for Deloitte India. Stepped out, joined IBM. I was supporting one of the largest telecom companies that we have currently in the country, supporting the QRadar platform, supporting IR, supporting platform administration, content, and all of that. And then finally landed up in KPMG about a month and a half back, and I'm kind of supporting the global security operations center that KPMG has based out of Noida and Bangalore, and also trying to support some of the customers within India as well as the global practice. So that has been my journey so far. So, yep, that's that.
So the first questions that have come is that, as a fresher, do companies recruit for SOC? And if so, what is the prereq? Do I need a certification? What kind of knowledge do I need to have?
Okay, so I think okay. How do I want to respond to that? Let me see. So again, the short answer is yes. If you look at cyber security as a whole, and if you kind of logically divide cyber security into multiple domains, security operations center or the defensive side of security is one tenant. The second one is your offensive tenant, wherein we have our VAPT, we have our offensive testing teams, we have got our the red teams and all. So that's the second vertical, and the third larger vertical that we can consider is which is neither red neither blue, but we have people from governance, we have people from security audits, we have people from all the other support ancillary functions. That's the third vertical, and the fourth one is a work set, or is a set of people who kind of help us deploying, running, managing different kind of security solutions, which spans or rather that kind of a role cuts into both IT and security. It depends on what kind of organization you are a part of. Okay, so that would include typically your IPS, IDS, antivirus, EDR, SOAR. So I mean, the more mature the product, the chances are that the security team would have a greater involvement in deployment and anything. Of course, the policies and all essentially depends on the security team to do. So out of this four vertical, the first one and two are the ones where I have seen the larger number of professionals who are coming out of college, fresher, they getting recruited. Uh, the primary reason being is that these are good stepping stones for security professionals, and hence across the industry you would find that there is a mandate, and then there is a a workflow that they follow, that we get a lot of freshers into these two teams typically. Now if you talk about skill set, I think I have been very vocal about this all my life. The only thing that you need to know, or the most important skill set that you need to have if you're actually looking to build a career in security operations center or cyber security broadly, is that you need to read every day. No matter whether you are a consultant, no matter whether you are a fresher, no matter whether you have you have being a part of the partnership of any of the global firms. I frequently on a daily basis interact with multiple partners. I've been a part of another big four earlier, and the common thing that I've seen with successful partners are they are amazingly well read about what's happening in security.
Yeah.
So I think if you have to pick up one skill, this should be that single skill that every day,
Mhm.
uh, at least for a couple of hours, you're reading about what's happening in security to start with.
Mhm.
And then once you have found a niche, once you have figured out that, okay, this is something that I want to do, you can, of course, focus and channelize your time. That's A. B, for anybody coming into either offensive side, as in like either a BAPT or as a part of SOC, I think understanding of basic networking is very important. You should be able to differentiate between a firewall and IPS. If you're not able to do that, if you're not able to logically understand that why an enterprise needs a firewall when it already has a IPS and vice versa,
Mhm.
I do not think that you are ready enough at this point in time.
Okay.
So understanding of security, basic security tenets in terms of what are the different kind of attacks that are going on, what are the basic basic networking concepts. I think these are two very important knowledge vectors. The third one, and a good to have feature for a fresher, if whenever I go for hiring or when I go for recruitment, is that whether you have a basic understanding or some bit of hands-on experience in any of the SIEM tools. Now, this is basically all about SOC. I am not going to cover up the red part in this particular conversation because A, that's not my expertise. I mean, that's not my expertise. B, I think it's just too much to cover in 1 hour as well.
Yeah.
So if you consider security operations center for this particular conversation, one of the key skill that we kind of look for is if you have got some hands-on experience on just the basic understanding of how an SIEM tool works, what are the basic purpose, uh, things like that. So I think these are the top three skill set that I kind of look ahead when I kind of hire somebody who's just about to come into the industry.
So while I'm not a cybersecurity expert, but as a co-founder of Antwox, I've been interacting with cybersecurity professionals and companies hiring for cybersecurity across India. And what I can tell you is that from my experience, SOC, entry-level SOC requirement is one of the most perennial requirements. All companies who have a cybersecurity practice do have a SOC requirement, and it's almost consistent. So SOC is something that, the skills that Nabojyoti spoke about, if you know those skills, then you getting a job in SOC is relatively easier. We have our own program of cybersecurity. So if you're interested in that program, we'll talk about it towards the end. So please kindly stay tuned, because I want to discuss more about the topic on hand instead of talking about my program. But we will talk about our cybersecurity program towards the end, which is focused on SOC roles, right? So one of the two major questions that have come to what you have just said is, first is, do I need coding for SOC? And second is, you said keeping updated, knowing the industry knowledge. So what are some websites through which I can keep myself updated about the news in the security domain? So the first is about coding, the second is about staying updated, following some websites.
Okay, so do you really need to code every day as a fresher or as an L1 or an L1, L2 analyst in SOC? The answer is no.
Mhm.
Do you get an additional advantage if you understand the basic principles of how a software code works in SOC every day of your life? The answer is yes.
Mhm.
So when you start working in security, I mean, until and unless you, so there are certain elements in security wherein you need to be good, or you need to kind of do coding almost on a much more frequent basis. But if you just look at SOC, you
Mhm.
might not be able to do or write codes every day. However, all of the payloads that you're going to investigate is
Mhm.
some form of code, correct? So until and unless you understand the basic structure, you understand how a particular an XSS is defined or a particular cross-site scripting is defined, those are all payloads. At the end of the day, those are all bits and pieces of code flying around, working together, putting together to kind of achieve a certain goal.
Yeah.
So There is no straight answer. I mean, unfortunately, it might sound that I'm going in circles, but that's the reality. You need to look at a code and kind of make sense of it, that okay, this is what this particular piece of code is supposed to do. Now when you pivot from a SOC, so I mean, what Sudhanshu was kind of hinting is that there is a lot of opportunities for freshers when they start their career in SOC. Now that's not the destination, okay? That's just your source IP. That's from where you start. Now the career options or the different kind of options that pivot out of security operations center are manifold, okay? And one of them is if you go deep into malware analysis, if you go deep into incident response. So for those kind of roles, it is imperative, and almost on every day basis you are going to see some absolutely random codes being thrown up at you. And these are not straightforward codes. These codes will be obfuscated at probably 2 to 3 layers. So you need to understand how to first, get the real code out of that particular payload. So, I mean, if you are of the opinion that all of these modern ransomware, they give you the code in absolutely black and white, you will analyze, you'll figure out that, okay, this is where a jump statement is there, I'll just go and crack this up. No, I'm sorry, that's not how it's going to happen. So there are multiple layers that have gone into it. Things have become really sophisticated, but yeah, you don't need to code every day. But if you do not understand how a certain code works, I don't think that you would become a very good analyst in the long run. That's A. B, or rather another very important area is that as a security professional, even if you are a part of SOC, and maybe this is me, you might not hear this from a lot of other professionals working in large scale enterprises. I am a huge open source fan, okay? I'll be very happy to run if some of my enterprises someday tell me that we are not going to buy anything, you just do whatever you can do with open source. And believe you me, there are tools, there are utilities which are available. They're fantastic. Now, the good part, or rather the interesting part about all of these open source tools are, they are either, I mean, all of them are on Git, and they are mostly built either on PowerShell or on Python. I mean, these are the two basic building blocks. Now, the moment you will deploy those tools, you'll figure out that until and unless you know how to deploy a particular tool, how to use pip, how to use apt, you will not be able to run these tools as well. So that basic understanding of at least Python and PowerShell is very, very important for all the SOC analysts, or even anybody who's willing to start a career or is probably at midway in the career as a part of a security professional.
Okay.
What was the second?
Okay, please go ahead.
No, there was a second question. Sorry. This was the first one, right?
Yeah. So the second question was, how do I stay updated with all the relevant news?
Again, there are no silver bullet. I'm sorry if I could tell you. If you really want me to answer it, have a cheeky answer, go to google.com. That's it. Okay. So I'll tell you what I do, or what I did when I started my career. So when I started my career in security, what I used to do is that I used to draw up a monthly plan. Okay, I used to have a monthly plan because I was starting my career in security. And if you ask me honestly, I still get overwhelmed by the amount of information that is there in security. And anybody with 10-15 years of experience will tell you the same thing. Security Operations Center or cybersecurity is just overwhelming amount of information. It is not possible if anybody can come up and say that, okay, I kind of know things. I mean, he's just lying to himself and to the larger crowd. Okay, so it is not possible. So please, if you are that particular person, and I know I was that kind of a person. वो exam के पहले I used to kind of try to cover most of the chapters. वो risk मैं कभी लेता ही नहीं था क्योंकि my किस्मत was not that good. वो दो chapter छोड़ देता था साला उसी में से सवाल आता था. तो at some point in time I figured out I am not Destiny's Child. मैं तो सब पढ़ के जाऊँगा बाकी भगवान भरोसे. So, and that is an attitude that you cannot do in cybersecurity. It's just too much of information. Then full day you'll only be reading. When will you work? When will you do anything else? So, वो possible नहीं है. So what I used to do is
put a Google alert on the word cybersecurity, and you will be surprised with
you'll be drenched. There will be a DDoS on your. I mean, there will be a DOS on your mailbox.
Yes.
You can't. Okay. So now, enough of the tanjam. So what do you do if you are starting? Okay. So what you do is you try to break down the entire security box into some of the smaller boxes, which I try to do. So one is your web security. Okay. So what you do is a certain day of the week you dedicate to web security, and you go out in the wild and try read whatever has happened past week in terms of web security. So by web security, I mean web and application security, your OS top 10, what are the different kind of, attack vectors that have emulated, that have come up in last couple of weeks, something like that. So that's one thing to do. Second thing I used to do is that whenever there's a larger attack that's going on, so uh, past month we all have been fighting with Print Nightmare, then there was Petit Potom, and it just keeps on coming. A few days back there was the Colonial Pipeline ransomware attack. So every week you will get some masala. That's the good part of working in cybersecurity. There is no dull week. Whenever something happens, what you do is try to understand what the attack is all about, and then go back and start reading and pivoting from that particular attack. Okay. So just to give you a knowledge path. Say for an example, you figured out that okay, this is a ransomware, it's being done by, say, probably APT38. Okay. Now go back and figure out what is an APT, how many such APT groups are there, are they consistent, how do they operate, how do ransomware as a service operate. It will take you about half an hour, 45 minutes to kind of figure out how this works. Then you pick up any random APT group, like I said, APT38. Now go into MITRE framework, ATNCK framework, and see what are the different TTPs that particular group does. Of course, it will be a bunch of, say, 10 to 15 TTPs, and it is not possible for anybody to just kind of go out and understand all of them at one go. So what you do is you pick up only one TTP, say T1078. Then you go back and you Google the hell out of that particular T1078, figure out how many knowledge articles are there, what is the red way of doing it, what is the blue way of doing it, depending upon what your role at that point in time, career is.
Yeah.
So that's how. And but believe you me, these are rabbit holes, so be very careful.
Right. Yeah. So the
Yeah,
knowledge. Yeah. So now we are in a world of information overage. It's overload. It's not just the age of
yeah,
information.
there's just too much of information. There's just too much of information. And sometimes it becomes very difficult to filter out कि क्या सही है, क्या गलत है. So pick certain websites. MITRE framework wala website. It's a very, very legit website. Then I follow a lot of these security architect, consultants, legends of the industry on LinkedIn. And whenever they post something, I usually make it a point to go and read it, even if I am not able to read it. So I don't know how many of you guys know, but there is a very cool feature in LinkedIn which is called save. So you can actually save a particular post, and every day throughout the day, what I do is I keep checking whenever I get some bit of time out of work and it is not possible for me to read those posts in detail, I save them. And every night when I'm before going to sleep, I kind of spend half an hour, go back to LinkedIn and kind of check what are those different posts that have come, and if there is something which is really informative and I kind of use that, it makes a lot of sense, then tomorrow morning the first thing that I'm going to do is half an hour I'm going to spend on it, try to figure out how I can use it in my life. So I think that's a neat practice that I follow right now, but it will take somebody who's just starting his or her career to kind of make sense of a lot of things.
So there are two questions which are, I think, very self-explanatory, and we don't. So there are first is which we have already answered, as to how do you get started in entry-level jobs. So entry-level jobs, you can acquire some skill set, do a good course, approach the companies. You can do a program through Antwox where we have industry partners who recruit with us. There is also a question about what is the expected package of SOC. So SOC L1, I'll tell you, it depends on the company. We have companies starting from 2.8 all the way to 4.5, depending on how core they are and what is. So there are expected packages also vary. Now, usually the question for you is that, there are questions around transition. So there are a couple of questions that have come saying that somebody was working in a somebody was a desktop engineer, somebody is working in Java currently, and how do I transition into cyber security?
Super. I mean, it brings me a lot of joy when I see Joy. Is there joy in the call?
No, Joy is not there in the call.
Okay, so this is not that joy.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
jokes apart. No, I mean it really brings me a lot of joy when I see people coming out from different streams, sublets of IT, non-IT. Even you would not believe that in my current enterprise there was a particular person who was a EA. She was supporting a partner in different kind of admin activities, and then one day she figured out that this is really cool what these guys do, because she was listening to a lot of conversation.
Yeah.
And the leadership thought that, okay, let us give her a chance, and right now she's a part of our SOC team. So so I mean, these kind of stories really inspire me a lot. I mean, when I see somebody who has no clue of it and then suddenly coming up, putting in a lot of long hours, putting in a lot of hard work, and then actually doing well. Just getting into security is not that difficult, but coming into security and then consistently do well at a competitive environment is not a matter of joke. So for every one of you guys out there who is a part of this call, if you are contemplating or kind of trying to take a decision whether you should make that pivot into cybersecurity, now is the time. Okay, there is no better time to be a part of cybersecurity in India, in globally. The opportunities are tremendous, and I can say that with as much conviction as possible.
Okay.
Coming to the question of
how.
How now. Let's just try to break that problem into two boxes. The first box is whether you have some bit of IT experience. Okay, so you might be doing some bit of coding, you might be part of some IT support team, you might be part of anything which is usually to do with IT and all. So the first thing that you can do is start reading up and trying to figure out what are those common areas that cuts into your field of work and security. Okay, so suppose you are coding in Java. Okay, go back and try to figure out how many CVs have been launched last year pertaining to Java, and what are the different ways, or what are the different kind of how do I put it, cyber attack that could be designed targeting Java as a platform. That's a very cool start. It will help you in two ways. A, it will bring that interest back to you in terms of making that entry into cybersecurity. B, you would look into your work at a much deeper lens from 5 days down the line. Because the moment you're going to write a code right now, the first thing that might come into your mind earlier was yaar fatafat karke nikalte hai. Now you would also bring another lens, is that is this particular code crackable? Am I making some kind of a mistake? Can I avoid using a particular function or a library that might be vulnerable already, or that is vulnerable? So that is a good channel to kind of pursue. But the basic tenets remains the same. Pick up a course. There are hundreds and hundreds of courses which are available. So the trick is to find out which one suits you, which one. There are free ones, there are paid ones, there are open source, there are so many things which are available. Try to pick up something that kind of caters to your areas of interest. So I think the first thing that all of you guys should do, whoever is kind of trying to pivot into this career, is figure out what to do in cybersecurity. Because I mean, it might seem like, okay, chalo कल से cyber करेंगे, but cyber में क्या करेंगे is something that you need to figure out very quickly, because like I said, it is huge. It's a monster of an industry. It's a monster of an industry. There are partners in Big Four with 16, 17 years of experience, 20 years of experience, and they just do one thing. Believe you me. They just do one side of cyber. It is not possible for anybody to do everything under the sun. So you pick up something which you find more interesting, and then kind of start reading about it, start doing some courses in and around it. There are so many courses which are available. That's one box. Now, if you do not have any experience in IT, if you want to start fresh, then I think pick up something which is first related to IT. Try to understand the basic tenets. Try to understand how and what is about computing. Get some bit of idea about cloud, because that's something that is everybody's mind. And then slowly, steadily, you can kind of pivot into cyber or any specific field of cyber. But it is really, really important to, pick up a field, pick up a zone, pick up an area, and then go about it. If you are looking into everywhere, unfortunately, after 6 months, you'll be left at a very bad space, and you'll be thinking, "Yaar, main kyun kar raha hu? This is just too much." Which is true. It is too much. So that is why you need to pick up a skill and then pursue it.
So there are two questions around SOAR. I'm not very that's SOAR. So there are questions like while building SOAR playbook, does it require a good SOC experience?
Yes.
And there is also another question around SOAR, which says that what are your views on AI ML for alert prioritization and anomaly detection on top of CM alerts?
Yeah, I don't believe in AI/ML. Let me take this, address the elephant in the room. मेरे हिसाब से AI/ML झांसा है, ठीक है? वो let AI/ML come and prove me wrong. ये सब security में है, vendor लोग AI/ML बहुत चल रहा है. See, I mean, 5 years down the line, I might be laughing at my own joke, and people might be laughing at this, but we are still not ready. Okay, we are still not ready. There are products which are trying very hard. I mean, there is a lot of intelligence shift which is going on, but just wait and watch. I mean, there are much more basic and important things to be addressed before you make that AI ML journey at this point in time. I mean, that's my only request to everybody. Globally, enterprises are not even sure of their CMDB. लोगों के पास अपना CMDB नहीं है. People do not even know what their asset inventory is, how many rogue devices that they have in their environment. So, I mean, until and unless you work on those basic tenets, people still do not have a proper patching cycle. They do not know how to prioritize a patch, and वो लोग चले AI/ML लगाने. नहीं होगा दोस्त. Let me tell you with absolute conviction, नहीं होगा. You'll fail miserably, and then you will go and abuse that particular partner who came and told you that I'm going to do AI/ML. We are still not ready. Wait for a few years and let them prove themselves. It's still not ready. Now coming to that SOAR question. So from that question, at least what we can make out is that question came from somebody who already has some bit of experience in SOC. So for the general crowd.
So he has a direct opportunity as a SOAR engineer. So he's having issues developing logic for building playbook. So that is where he wants.
Let me answer that. So, but before I go into that answer, let me just take a step back. And for the larger audience, SOAR is a security orchestration, automation, and response platform. Something which is really a very good utility for all of the SOC guys out there. So what it essentially does, it does all three. It does orchestration, it does response, and it does automation of the different kind of security alerts that come into your SOC or you come into your SIM. Now, the challenge, or one of the biggest challenge that comes up while you are designing a particular playbook is that the situations or the alerts are very dynamic. Even if it is raised for a single use case or a single detection logic, it might pivot depending upon what kind of information that you get. So that is why my request to all the SOAR engineers or SOAR developers would be, do not try to look at the bigger problem. Break down the problem into smaller functions, create those smaller nuggets of playbook or smaller nuggets of code, and then assemble it depending upon what use case or what the scenarios are. If you are able to break down the larger problem into the smaller bits and pieces, it is easier to assemble and you will get quicker outcome, while you are trying to address a specific problem. That would be my suggestion.
Okay. So we have a question around Splunk. How can we learn Splunk from scratch? So what I can tell you is as part of Antwox course, we have IBM QRadar and we are thinking of adding Splunk and logarithm as well into as part of course syllabus. But apart from our course, Nabojyoti, if somebody has to learn Splunk, is there a way they can?
Yeah. Splunk is one of those popular SIM tools that are available in the market.
Yeah.
a good way to learn Splunk is that Splunk already has a free version which is available over the internet. So, and they have a free course as well. So what you can do is you can go to, I think, splunk.com or splunk.org, whatever it is, and register. Once you register, you can do that particular course. And then there is a online Splunk version which is available to play around with. So, yeah.
So I have
But
a
I think
couple.
when you're starting your career, do not focus on a specific SIEM tool. Focus on the broad tenets. Focus on, how you have to do investigation. Because on day zero, I don't think any recruiter or even your project manager, team manager, lead, whoever it is, would expect you to run Splunk. But what they would expect you to do is that if you are able to investigate using the logs that are coming in Splunk. Now, that log will not be different if it is Splunk, if it is QRadar, if it is ArcSight, if it is Azure Sentinel, that remains the same.
Yeah.
Okay. So while we were having another cohort with Antwox last month, and we were doing the QRadar workshop, and that's the same thing that I mentioned. So in QRadar, something is called log source. In Splunk, it will be called data source. In Sentinel, they will call it
So is it me? Did I just lose Navo? Ram, are you able to
No,
hear?
no, I am also not able to hear you.
Okay, okay. What I hope he joins us back. But there are some questions that I can take on my own. There are questions from Rishabh to me saying that he has a 1.5 years of experience as software developer, and due to his interest in cybersecurity, he wants to move, but he doesn't get a job. There are other questions about fresher jobs. What I can tell you from
Sudhanshu, sorry, I kind of dropped in between. So if there was a question, please let me know.
Yeah, I will. So yeah, so just give me a moment. I was just completing the discussion. So there are a lot of fresher jobs in cybersecurity, right? So you need to knock at the right door. You will get it. And what I'm telling to slightly experienced people, not 4 5 years of experience, but 1.5 2 years of experience, people who are trying to transition into cybersecurity, you need to take a slightly longer, medium to long term lens at a cybersecurity career. So in an IT career, the normal entry level jobs start from 3.5. You might be earning 4.5 currently. That could also be there. Every year you get between 5 to 10% of a hike, but from a very pure monetary terms. While you should never judge a career only from the monetary terms. In cybersecurity, you might start from 3.5, but what happens is the annual appraisal in a cybersecurity is much better. I know people who get almost 100% year on year hike, but the industry average also is between 40 to 70 80%, right? So in a couple of years, where you are, if you are in a IT job where you're earning say 4.5 or 5, uh, what you will be in 2 years from now versus what you will be in a cybersecurity role, even if you start from 3.5, you will pretty much either be at par or even ahead in terms of monetary value in cybersecurity. So if you guys are planning to transition into cybersecurity, we will talk about our course in another 5 minutes. Before that, okay. So there are some talks about. So there is a question from Sahzad who says that how is career in vulnerability management. So there's a on the VAPT side as well, and
No.
yeah. So while we are concentrating on SOC, how is this question? Would you like to take it? So how is career in vulnerability management?
So I just joined back. There was one more question from a gentleman who didn't want him to be called out. I think his question was mostly in and around if somebody who does not have an IT experience, who has no cyber experience, who's probably a
Yeah.
BCom or a BA, and
Hmm.
but understand the basic tenets of security, what he or she can do. I think the basic logic box remains the same.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter which college you are, what university you have been to, BA, BCom, nothing else matters as long as you are willing to learn every day of the week.
Yeah.
Believe you me, what is going to happen is that somebody is starting maybe 5-10 meters ahead of you. But remember, this is a double marathon. So 5 meter, 10 meter ka head start at the end of a 40-year career is going to look nothing.
Yeah.
And the same logic applies for Paisa as well.
Yeah.
always remember, if you are not doing a business, if you are in a professional career, the amount of money that you're going to make in the last 25% or last 10 years of your professional career is going to be far greater than the first 3 decades put together.
Yeah.
You can discuss this number with anybody in your family or any professional in anywhere in the world, and this logic holds true. This is as golden principle of finance or money making as it goes. I'm surprised why nobody has spoken about it yet. I'm sure if Uncle Vaiku was a part of this call, he would have picked it up. But believe you me, it works. So please do not focus on that 5 lakh, 6 lakh, 10 lakh, 7 lakh. You are going to get more bonuses per year than you are kind of making a year working. And that I have seen in my own career, and all of you guys are going to visualize and experience it in your own career. So please do not think that at this point in time. Try to pick up something that generally interests you, something that can wake you up, and you will not think, "Arey yaar, फिर से ये क्यों करना है?" Rather than, "Arey वाह, फिर से ये आया क्या?" You know, that's the slight difference in what's going to make you a really successful professional. I was having this conversation. It's not really relevant, but I'll just take a minute. I was having this conversation with the director in KPMG today itself. And, we are kind of trying to figure out what next. Now, if you're a part of a Big Four consulting, the best that you can do is become a partner. Okay. And with young professionals coming into it in cyber and the kind of numbers cyber is generating, you will soon find a lot of these young partners, with all of these Big Fours, people with about 16 years, 17 years, 18 years of experience. Now, if you consider a 40-year career, you are a partner not even with 50% in your career. तो वो आधा 50% क्या करने वाला है?
Yeah.
You are not going to become anything else. You have reached the top.
Yeah.
Now, the only thing that you have to do is keep doing the same thing again and again and again. And it is not easy.
It is.
So until and unless you really like doing it, it is very, very difficult. And the very common point, I mean, it's a lot of exaggeration. But what it essentially happens is what happened to Sachin Tendulkar for the last 10 years of his career. He already did whatever was possible and he still kept playing on for the last 10 years. You can always talk about the World Cup, but that's like a one-off thing. But that's okay. Yeah. So until and unless you really like doing it, you are still going to reach a certain point very quickly, and after that there is nothing more to do. तू partner बन गया Big Four में, आगे क्या करेगा? कुछ नहीं कर सकता, हो गया. You have reached the top. अब बस वहीं रहना है. So until and unless you really like your surrounding, you'll be bored in next 6 months. Yeah. There is nothing forward to look into. That's the whole point. So, pick your lenses very carefully.
Yeah. So we will talk about much more things about SOC, but I would like to take some time to talk about our program. Antwox essentially is a educational platform. It's an edtech startup based out of Bangalore, and our philosophy is around learning from industry experts. People like Nabojyoti, who have a lot of industry experiences. How do you benefit from their experiential knowledge? And so that is where we have come up with a cybersecurity program. It is a 16-week cybersecurity program where you have core skills. You have skills around soft skills like how do you solve problems, how do you communicate, how do you prepare your good resume, how do you do a LinkedIn networking. There are mentoring sessions, and each of these modules, they are taken by individual industry experts. You have people from Big Four, we have people from Accenture, Cognizant, HCL, Soft, people for each of them bring decades of experience in their own domain. You will have live classes, so it is not just pre-recorded courses that you can learn, take a certificate and get it right. A lot of people have asked the question as to how do you get started. If you're really serious about starting a career in cybersecurity, this is a program. And I'll tell you, our first batch has just graduated. We have placed them in some really wonderful companies like Happiest Mind, Satrix, and other places. A lot of entry level roles. Even while this course, we wanted to keep it more for senior guys, but understanding the interest from the freshers. And I'm telling you, the fresher roles, they go like hotcakes. There is more demand for freshers, especially SOC L1 roles, than there is anything for anything else. So these classes, you will get every weekend, there would be 3 classes. So you will, in over the week, over 16-week course, you'll get around 50 live classes. You will get pre-reads every week. You'll get pre-reads, you'll get projects. These projects will be assessed, and then you will be, of course, you will be graded on top of it. So there will be, every week, it will prepare you for a generalist cybersecurity role, right? If you want to become a network specialist, possibly, then we have another program for that. But if you want to start a career in cybersecurity, either as a fresher or you want to transition into this is the course for you. All right. So there are courses on introduction to cybersecurity. We have courses on network security. We have cyber attacks, web app security. IDAM is there. Incident response, incident management, digital forensics, GRC. We have CM. We have a masterclass on cloud. So we have a complete comprehensive course which has been designed itself by industry experts. This course is for 50,000, for 49,999, including GST. You can, and there are zero cost EMI options. You can start with a 10 to 20% initial and you can get started. I will post a link in the chat window once Nabojyoti starts replying. Or if Ram, you have the link, please share the link. So if you register by the end of this, in the next 1 hour, you are eligible for some discounts on this program. So this is what we wanted to talk about the program. And going back to some of the questions, right? So most of the questions are around certifications. There is a question around master's program as well. So I want to understand this, how important is, what do you say? A master's program. So spending 2 years in a master's program to start a career in cybersecurity, and also the certifications at an entry level, purely from an entry level perspective, Nabojyoti, how important are certifications?
I mean, my answer to both these questions would be very, very one side of the spectrum, because I'm not a big fan of assessing somebody while I'm trying to, include him or her as a part of my team, just by looking how many certification a particular person has. Okay. So if you do not have a certification and if you're good, I'm going to hire you. If you have 10 certifications and if you cannot answer the basic questions, I'm not going to hire you. It is as simple as that. Okay. Now there are certain gating that happens in cybersecurity hiring as well, from different HRs or the recruitment team, and they have a certain mandate that, okay, please get those resume who have got a certain certification in place. Mm-hmm. So that is a larger problem of the industry, and I would not be commenting on that. As far as my personal opinion is, if you want to do certain certifications, it's entirely up to you, but your priority one should be to learn as much as possible, pick up a certain skill set, pick up a particular area, and then go deep. Okay. Nobody, would like to have a CEH in their team who could not even do basic investigation of security alerts. But if you are a good security analyst, if you can figure out problems in log, even if you do not have a CEH, even if you do not have anything, any of the certification which is available, you are good to go. Yeah, it's okay. Now, there are certain certifications which are free. There are certain certifications which are lesser expensive than the other ones. So pick according to your budget, pick according to how much you want to invest. A good thing to do is maybe get some free ones done, and then whenever you are a part of an enterprise, you can request your team lead, you can ask your boss that, okay, I'm really keen to do some of this certification, and those guys actually sponsor as well. So that is one way to do it. Now, coming back to the question of doing a master's degree for cybersecurity. Mm-hmm. I am sorry to say, but I would request you to not spend 2 years doing an academic degree, rather than come and do internship with any of the top top security firms in the country. It can be it can be the amazing startups like CloudSec, Cyber, these kind of people, or come and do internship with any of the big fours. All of the big fours, they allow interns to come and do internship with them. Go and try to figure out an entry level role with the larger IT companies like Cognizant, Wipro, whatever suits you. But if you ask me, to me, it makes more sense to get hands-on real industry experience than to spend 2 years doing academic course, which probably, you again have to start from scratch. Because believe you me, just because you have done a master's degree, you would not join a SOC and you would directly become an L3 until and unless you have shown that skill set on ground. They will not take you up just because you have a master's degree. But if you like academics, now we have been, my answer was primarily targeted whether you want to come back and do a professional role. If you want to stay in academics, if you want to do a PhD, if you want to do go and invest your time in that kind of a work, I think master's degree is the right channel to pursue. So it entirely depends on what your end goal is. अगर आखिरी में नौकरी करना है तो 2 साल क्यों वेस्ट कर रहा है भाई, आ जा नौकरी कर ले.
So there are some questions. You opened a Pandora's box by talking about free certifications. So now we have a lot of questions as to what are the some free certifications in IDAM, in governance. So what are the free certifications that people can possibly look at?
Okay, so now when you talk about free certifications, it essentially becomes very tool specific. So in our IR wala session, when we were doing that incident response session, what I did was I shared. So Palo Alto SOAR Palo Alto is one of those larger OEMs, and they have a very brilliant platform which does SOAR, which has SOAR capabilities, and they have a certification in place which is dedicated to that particular platform. It's free, so you can learn there. You can appear for a test which is there on the platform, and you would get some bit of good skill in that particular tool itself. So from the free certification perspective, I think most of the free certifications are by some of those tools or some of those open source communities. So I think AT and CK has a couple of free certifications and all. But from a larger gamut perspective, most of them are paid. I think a cheaper one is CH. CH is about 30K, 35K. Again, if you are, my point is, if you have 10 hours to spend, and if you are willing to spend 5 hours studying and 5 hours giving that, or preparing for the certification, just don't do that. Spend 8 hours studying and go until.
So Nabojyoti, your voice has died down. Is that just me, Ram?
Okay. No. It might be because of me, because I just shifted the laptop. It's better now, right?
Yeah, it is much better.
Yeah. So what I was saying is that free certifications are very OEM driven. Free certifications for generic are not available. So Qualys, you'll see if you want to pick up Qualys as a tool, they have certain certifications which are there on their platform. Palo Alto has some of them available for some of their tools and utilities. So Splunk has, I think, a couple of layers that you can do for free, and then you have to pay for the next 3 and next 4, or how many so ever are there. So don't focus on certification if you are starting. That's my whole point. There are CAs, there's a lot of people who go and do CCNA. CCNA is pretty good. There is something called CCNS as well, I think, which is from the same group but for security. So again, I am not a very a good guy to kind of come and talk about certification A and masters B, because I don't believe in either of them.
Okay.
So pick up somebody who has about 15 certifications. You would find a lot of such people on LinkedIn. Please go and talk to them. They would give you much better input regarding this. Taking nothing away, a certification gives a lot of confidence to a recruiter, but at the end of the day, in your interview, you are going to be hired only if you have the skill set, and not because you have a certification. It's a very archaic way of doing it. I mean, we are in 2021. We should not be hiring people basis anything, let alone school, college, university certification. Agar skill hai, hire kar lo, nahi hai, please apply after 6 months. That's how simple it is.
So some questions have come around the recording and other things. So the same place from where you registered Antwox events page, you will have the recording of this session available. It is also available on our YouTube page. So that will be there. So there are some questions. There is one question from Venkat, which says that, how to shift my domain from IAM to SOC governance and privacy. So that is one question. And there's one question on what are the major conflicts with cybersecurity in respect to business. I mean, implementing security, but that should not stop business. So there is a slightly conflicting in the second part. So let's take the first question first. Can somebody from say IAM can move to SOC or privacy?
Yeah. It's very easy to pivot if you're already a part of one of the cybersecurity vertical. So again, the logic remains the same. Just wo Java developer ke liye we were discussing. So if you are already an IAM professional, so you know identity and access management by now very well. So start looking into what are the different cyber attacks that could be done to compromise the identity and access management systems which are available. Go and start reading about carbo roasting. I think if you are somebody who understands carbo roasting clearly and can go back and figure out the top 10 attacks pertaining to AD and both on the red and the blue side, you would probably be the top 5% of the good SOC analyst in the entire country.
Yeah.
So it's an extremely complicated piece, and if you already have that foundation knowledge in terms of how identity and access management works, how AD security works, you can always come back. And I think one of the other ways to do it within an enterprise is speak to your boss, speak to your manager, tell them that look, I really want to do this, and is there some kind of an opportunity that you can give me with your team? So in my experience, what we have done with a lot of people coming from ISO 27001 background, somebody who have been doing audit for a long time, like I gave you an example of somebody who was was an EA. I mean, he was kind of supporting administration. But apart from her daily work, she used to spend about 3-4 hours additionally with the team, trying to figure out how they do investigation, what are the basic process, what are the basic mechanisms, and that's how you get into it. So for the first couple of months, instead of an 8-hour shift, do a 10-hour shift. That's it.
See,
so what we fail to understand is the value that comes out just by doing a little bit of incremental effort. Wo 1 to the power 10 and 1.001 to the power 10. It makes a lot of difference. So I think focus on that. I think there is somebody called Ram who has sent a really nice, heartwarming message. So thank you, Ram, for being so kind. Yeah, thanks, Ram.
So we have a lot of good feedback coming. And let me tell you guys, while we are, there will be one. Anuj, if you can unmute, you can ask your question if you want to ask directly to Nabojyoti. Anuj, you can unmute yourself and ask a question. And one thing that I can tell you is that there are a lot of people who have spoken about the necessity of certification. They're saying that the certification is a necessity to get into a job. Let me reiterate to you again what Nabo has said again and again. It is knowledge over certifications. If you have the knowledge and you can signal it well that you know these things, there is nobody who will ask you for a certification, right? So you need to understand certification is kind of a parameter which tells at least you know this thing. That is all it means. Yeah.
Let me give a quick tip to all of these guys who have been willing and inching to do certification. Okay, I'll give you 2 options. A is the usual one wherein you go and do a certification, and on top of your resume you write, I have done CH, I have done whatever ABCD, whatever certification that you have done. So until and unless it's a tool specific certification, the job that we are going to only get suppose if you are a Splunk certified Splunk admin and all, you are not going to, a recruiter who is looking for an ArcSight admin role will rarely consider you, because you are telling to that particular recruiter, I'm a Splunk admin, get me on Splunk. Now that's one way of doing it, and it's nothing wrong. And I know why so many people are coming back and asking the question. That is primarily because of something which is a wrong practice which is going on in the industry, that the hiring managers, the recruitment team goes out in the open and they said that we want this certification. I cannot change it because I am too small to make that change, but I am 100% sure with the kind of people that are coming into the industry, all of you are going to bring that change. So what do you do alternate? Okay, कुछ तो alternate भी बोलना पड़ेगा, अभी फालतू में रोके तो कुछ फायदा नहीं है. The alternate is this: create a home lab. Okay, build a project around it. Make a small video of what you have achieved in your small lab. There are free IDS which is available. There are free SIM solutions which are available. There are free antivirus which is available. There are free vulnerability scanners which are available. So technically, you can build a security infrastructure for your own home in your computer. So all of you guys who have been inching to spend 50,000 to go and do a certification, please add 30,000 more and buy a laptop. Buy a laptop that has got 16 to 32 GB RAM. It's an i7, i9, a solid box, and then do whatever that you want to do on top of that. And if you are able to do something cool in that particular space, write that on your resume. Write that in the first line. You do not have to even mention your name. Just write, this is something that I've already created in a home lab. Believe you me, there is a large section of recruiters who would love to hire you. Love to hire you. And me being one of them. I love to see people coming and telling me, मैंने तो ऐसा एक बनाया अपने घर पे. I'm like, very good. चलो दिखाओ क्या बनाया है.
So
it's amazing to have that interaction.
Humorous tone, but you have to show your capability, and the best way to show your capability is that this is what I've done, right? So recently there is a lot of hacking going on world over, right? Especially on crypto. So a guy who hacked $610 million of cryptocurrency from a crypto firm, he was offered a job in the same security firm, right? So I'm not telling everybody to go that route, but it is a practical demonstration of your knowledge, right? So what Nabo said, that given your laptop, given the security that you have at home, given the network that you have home, what best you can do, what best you can showcase, write it down write a blog about it. This is what I have done. These are the 10-15 steps that I have done. Put some screenshots, take some pictures, put it there. You write one blog, that blog will give you your job, right? I have a lot of people who come and say that, people don't know how to signal their strengths. What you should be able to tell. Certifications, the reason HRs ask for it, because that is one way of telling that this thing. It's not a
and also आपको समझना पड़ेगा ना, आप अगर HR को जाके बोलोगे कि मैंने अपने घर पे लैब बना के IPS लगाया है, उसको क्या समझ आएगा? That person does not have that particular knowledge to appreciate what you have built. So that's the risk that you have to take. One way is you spend some time, you spend a lot of money and do a certification and hope certain HR will pick you up, and then you will land up in an interview and you'll be lucky enough to clear it. Or you pick up a path wherein you go ahead, you create and you invest that same amount of money in learning actually something. So to me, one has a more sustainable, a long-term sustainable impact. Another one is for a short-term goal. Both are important. Both are important. I cannot just say ki you go for the long game. But believe you me, we are all here for the long game. Even if you think you are not, you are essentially a part of a double marathon. It's not a single marathon. तो वो rat race मत कर, वो ये थक जाएगा तू, नहीं कर पाएगा.
So we'll take the last question, Anuj, before we wrap it up. Anuj, please go ahead.
Yeah. Good evening, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, please go ahead.
Sir, I'm a college student right now, and I will be graduating next year, 2022. So the issues I'm facing, like whenever see some job openings in cybersecurity, what I see is they require minimum 2 years of experience every in any job opportunities. So what a fresher can do, like if he has every skill you want, so how can he apply, since they are looking for the experienced guys?
So Anuj, thanks a lot, and I wish you all the very best for graduating, and then I hope that you pick up cybersecurity as an area that you want to work.
Thank you,
What you said is correct, okay, but it is only partially true. There are a lot of enterprises who hire absolute freshers, and then they put them into a program, and then they go back and they join a team. While there is certain enterprises who look for a 2 years experience, but there are a lot of enterprises and organizations who offer internship roles. they might not pay you very handsomely, or they might not even pay you, but you can always go look for those internships. There are multiple companies who offer security internships. The larger product players, they do. The big fours, they come once in a year or twice a year. They hire interns, and you can come join, work for the team, try to figure out what they do. So that's the whole thing out there. I mean, don't be focused on the fact that okay, there are certain companies who are only willing to hire people with 2 years of experience. There are enough number of companies who are also hiring people who are absolutely starting their career. So dono hi hai.
Okay, so thank you, sir. Another question, last question from my side is, right now I am just started around 3 to 4 months back, like learning in cybersecurity. So I'm encountering different roles like SOC and digital forensics, VAPT. So I want to know, like, I'm still confused, like, which field to go. Like, and everything is at last, everything is about how much you are going to get the salary. So I want to know that which area must be the best
अरे यार,
for.
इसमें तो मात कर, यही तो आपने तो आपके लाइन में ही आपका गलती बता दिया. It is not about salary. It is never about salary. Believe you me. Like I said, amount of money that you guys are going to make if you transition into IT or cyber, for an example, वो एक लोग रखना पड़ेगा आपका टैक्स करने के लिए. सुधांशु बाबू को पूछो. सुधांशु बाबू के पास एक टीम है बस उसका टैक्स करने के लिए.
What happens is every 10 years, the way your career should progress is if the amount that you're making on year 1, and in the 10th or 11th year, you should be paying equivalent amount in tax.
Exactly. Absolutely. ये तो हम लोग ऑफिस में भी करते थे कि
I started my career with Cognizant when I started with the BPO industry, but that was like very part time. We started with Cognizant, so where whatever our salary was, until the time I was in full time job before I started my own entrepreneurship. Of course, that amount was going in tax, annual taxes, and had I continued that way, So I will again, Anuj, what Nabo said, and I will also reiterate is, you need to define your destination. Don't define the starting point, or starting point not in terms of salary. So define it in terms of, this is the job I want, this is the kind of company culture I want, this is the kind, does it align with my professional and personal goals? 50,000, 60,000, 2 lakh, that difference in the terms of salaries, that is negligible when you talk about long run, right? So please start your career in a job that you would like, in a company that you appreciate, with possibly, if you have some follow, if you want to, if there are some industry leaders that you want to explore, you want to get into similar roles. So try to define your career in those terms rather than monetary terms, right? आज आपको 3.5 मिलता है, या you get 4.5 or you get 5.5, it hardly matters, is what Nabojyoti says, right? So
I think coming back to the earlier question which Anuj had was, like, I started studying, and then now there is SOC, there is DFIR, there is this, there is that. It is pretty confusing. Okay, like I said at the start of the conversation, cybersecurity, if you start, I mean, if I take a step back and look at it, it is absolutely overwhelming to see the amount of content that is out there to consume. So do not look it at a whole piece. It is overwhelming and it's going to bog you down. So for starters or for freshers, what you can do is you pick either of the two. You either pick the blue side or you pick the red side, depending upon what you find more interesting. That's about it.
Okay.
There is no template that I can give that, okay, if you are 6'2", if you have curly hair, go for SOC. If you do not have either of the two, go for red. Aisa nahi hai. There is no template. Okay. And the best part is, some of the best SOC analysts that is out there right now, they all started this career as red. And some of those guys who started their career as blue right now have gone back and they are masters of purple teaming, which lies somewhere in between. So what you start, like Sudhanshu said, ki yaar shuru karo. Just start with something. Pick up something, keep reading about it. There are these websites that I would highly recommend. There is TryHackMe. There are is Cyber Range or Range Force is there. There are quite a few. So go to those portals, register, and start doing them. Start doing those hands-on activities. Start reading about the top 10 attacks that are happening. Start reading about all the APT groups are there. MITR framework ko chart ke ekdam khatam kar do. That's it. You don't need anything more. So, when I was discussing with the last batch in terms of what are the different kind of questions that people ask, it's only a bunch about 15 to 20 things that people will expect a fresher to come and answer. And it's not a lot of information. It's just that to reach that level, you need to, have that basic foundation. That's about it. I don't want somebody who can explain to me how an advanced malware works. I don't need it. Nobody needs it. If somebody is hiring a fresher with an expectation कि वो आके मेरा malware analysis करेगा, sorry boss, join some other company. That company is not for you. That's not a healthy place. Move on.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
We have
Thank you.
passed our time for the masterclass. So Nabojyoti, thank you so much for coming, sharing, taking enthusiastically all the questions, guys. Once again, I'm telling you, we have Antwox believes in the power of learning through people who have the knowledge, not through academicians. Nothing against them, but people who have the practical expertise by getting their hands dirty, learning it the hard way. They come and share experiences with you throughout this course. And one thing that I don't want to give a job guarantee or anything else, but if you do the course well enough for 16 months, cybersecurity is a field where there is a lot of or role openings, because just by the virtue of the kind of heated that space is. Everybody wants to go digital. Everybody needs people that it is evolving.
There are no good cybersecurity professional at this point in time in India who does not have a job.
Yeah.
If you are a good cybersecurity professional and if you do not have a job, please let me know.
Yeah.
All the recruiters would be ganging up in front of your house to hire you.
Yeah.
There might be a full stack developer or a database administrator who's really good at his job and perhaps is not able to make the cut. But it is not, I'm not going to believe that there is somebody who has all the required skill set, or who's a really good security professional and in 2021 does not have a job in India. It's absolutely ludicrous. It's not going to happen.
Job is an outcome of a good skill, is what Nabo is saying. You will get those skills. Okay. So Nabo, thanks once again. You joined us. You shared their knowledge, and everybody, let's show our appreciation to Nabo. You guys can give us a thumbs up through the reactions button. Give a high five, and Nabo, thank you so much. We really enjoyed, and the recording will be available on the website on the events page. All right. So please keep following Antwox. You take the course today, you take the course 3 months down the line or whatever it is. Even for our Antwox job board, we have a job board. You can follow the job board just to get what are the jobs available. If job is your end outcome, you can follow our job board on LinkedIn. So please stay connected with Antwox. You will benefit in all the possible ways. So Nabo, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Sudhanshu. I think thanks everybody for midweek काम छोड़ के गप करने आ गए सब लोग. Very good. Take care of yourself, take care of your family, and like I said in all of my previous conversation, keep reading, keep learning. Please, please, please do that. That's the only thing that's gonna help you in that double marathon. Chalo.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.